So this is my 20th marathon that I've covered in my career. My fifth time being at the finish line for the Boston Globe. About 20 minutes into being at the finish line area where I was standing, the first bomb went off, and it was literally less than 50 feet from me. My whole thought process was just trying to figure out what had happened. I thought maybe a manhole cover exploded, but then I saw the smoke. I smelled the smoke, which smelled almost like 4th of July, and my instinct just had me running forward. That's when I came across the runner on the ground, Bill Ifrig from Washington, and the 3 police officers were running right at him and running at me, and I was shooting the whole time. I knew I had to get onto the sidewalk to show the real story, and as I got into the sidewalk, the first person I saw was Sidney Corcoran from Lowell, who was being helped by some onlookers and a firefighter. I then moved to the left where I saw Nicole Gross, and in the background was Sidney's mother, Celeste, holding her head. About 2 weeks after the marathon, I was able to meet the Corcoran family. We hugged, and it really meant so much to me to be able to see them. I didn't know the day when I photographed them if Sidney had died or Celeste had died.
This whole photo is all about position. It happened when Koji was pitching. He pitches, he throws strikes, and he reacts. He's a great person to photograph. And you knew that if he struck out the last batter and got the third out, that there was going to be a celebration. It's all about which way he looks when he jumps into the catcher's arms.
I was photographing David Ortiz, and I photographed the swing, and I could tell, because I've covered him for forever, that ball was going out of the ballpark, and I knew it was going out to right field, so I just swiveled around to right field, and I thought it was going to land out in the bleachers, and then at the last second I saw the Detroit right fielder, Torrey Hunter, come over, and he sort of came from the right-hand side of the frame, and the ball seemed to come from the left-hand side of the frame, and he leapt up. He just missed the ball, but I could tell from the way he jumped up that I thought he was going over that wall.
Mayor Thomas Menino is the longest sitting mayor in Boston's history. He's been the mayor for 2/3 of my career here at the Boston Globe. I really don't have much of a memory of covering Boston politics without Mayor Menino. This was the day that he announced to the world that he was not going to be seeking another term. I was the only journalist in the city that was allowed to be in the room when he told his inner cabinet what was going on.
Gabriel Clark, 13-year-old, was shot Friday night, January 11th. I get an assignment to go to a particular church with a reporter to see if this is mentioned, to get community reaction. There was this young boy standing with the minister. At one point, the minister drew him in close to him. I thought, that's the image, because this boy became representative of all the young children who are possible victims.
Ever since Callie was diagnosed with the DIPG, her brainstem tumor, she never spent a night or a nap alone. She always had her parents sleeping with her. And I knew, in the course of following them, I knew I had to, this was a very important picture to show not just what the family did to help other children in their extraordinary efforts at fundraising and awareness, but also this really showed what extraordinary parents there were.
This was the anniversary of the Haitian earthquake. I was looking forward to, as hard as the situation was, I was looking forward to have the opportunity to be able to photograph this, and I got exactly what I expected. I had people that were crying on their knees, looking up at the sky, people that were holding their hands, drying their tears, and I got all of that. I was so focused on the people in front of me that were grieving, and when I turned around, I found this guy just playing, and it was so incongruous of an image because it's in the middle of nowhere.
Well, this is kind of a quirky picture. A guy was going to put install a piece into the spire of the steeple of the Munson Church, and he had to carry sections in order to complete the steeple. And as he was carrying it, it looked like the section was walking by itself over to the steeple, so it was kind of a quirky photo.
While I was looking for a good spot, they just started playing a song. Their daughter ran down the stairs and she ran to her mom. And I think that's probably what just brings the image together about a family that actually travels and plays music because they take their kids on the road with them.
In this case, this is one of the rare instances where the subjects of the parade made for a better photo. In 1 second, 3 members of the marching band took drinks from their water bottles at the exact same time, and I had about the 30th of a second to react and bring my camera up, and I quickly snapped it, not really even thinking it was much of a picture.
You have the dancers who I would imagine the choreographer wants you to focus on because that's where the light is. But I think they also want you to pay attention to what's going on elsewhere in the frame. It's an interesting juxtaposition of a beautiful ballet movement and 4 people who have their backs turned to the stage.
I think what makes this image is the sort of graphic nature of the photo, that you've got this like swirl on her dress, which kind of works with the lines of the pavement, and then you have this little person in the background that anchors the frame.
It was a heat wave, just like every summer. There's always a heat wave, and one of the ways we were covering this heat wave was to tell it through a day in the life of a dairy freeze. How it happened so often, the best picture of the day didn't even actually have an ice cream cone in it, but it was really a picture about anticipation of the ice cream cone is probably sweeter than the actual ice cream cone itself.
You know, mud and electric shocks make great pictures. For photography, of course, you know, if you wide angle it, you're going to get splashed. So I was covered with mud. My cameras still have mud on them. It's just a mudathon.
This is a picture of Tom Brady before the playoff game last year with the Houston Texans, doing something that he does almost every home game. Is he comes out of the locker room about an hour before kickoff, running with whoever his backup quarterback happens to be that season, and he runs the length of the field, and just as he gets towards the south end zone, there's a group of fans that are always there in the south end zone, and he starts to get fired up and jumping up and down, clapping his hands and screaming, and they cheer back at him, and they hoot and holler, and he screams again. He makes great faces, and that's pretty much what the picture's of.